Hello again, it's time for another look at the papers. With us again, Kate Hardcastle and Marianne Hodder. Kate and Marianne, hello again. Thanks a lot for being with us this Sunday. Let's kick off with COVID, because it's a year on from Freedom Day, isn't it? You've picked out an article in the Times about this. Marianne.
Yes, that's right. So July the 19th is a one-year anniversary of Freedom Day, which admittedly in England simply meant that you didn't need to wear a mask indoors and you could go clubbing. However, last Tuesday, July the 12th, was another COVID milestone, which was that 200,000 people had died with COVID mentioned on their death certificate. So, you know, we can get into the semantics of whether that's dying with COVID or dying of COVID, but 200,000 people is no small and a very grim milestone. 45,000 of those people have died in the last year. At the moment, 1 in 19 of us in England have COVID, and so it's this kind of living with COVID. But obviously, if you run a business, or if you go to school and you've noticed that half the teaching staff aren't there, you haven't got employees turning up for work, all that stuff, there's a huge impact on the economy. There's a huge impact on the productivity of the nation, and it's not just our country's problem. It's an issue right across the world at the moment, and it's kind of doubling down, that perfect storm of the economic crisis, of spiralling energy costs because of the Russia-Ukraine crisis, all the supply chain issues, all that stuff. It's a real perfect storm. But the situation in the UK is I think particularly acute because it's coming after a decade of chronic underfunding. So at the moment, there's NHS chiefs are saying that there is a shortage of 14,000 beds in the NHS. All ambulance trusts are on a black alert level, which is the highest alert level, demonstrating how stretched they are. And obviously the immediate challenge for our emergency services is that the heat that we're going to be experiencing in the next 2 days, but looking a little bit further ahead, it's kind of hard to imagine. But the cold season, that's when flu kicks in, that's when things like norovirus kick in, and the question is, do we have the infrastructure and the systems and the staffing and the skills in place in order for us to actually cope with that, rather than just see a sort of catastrophic failure of kind of crucial systems. The knock-on public health impact of there being 2 years of relatively low infections of influenza means that we potentially, as a kind of whole population, are more at risk of contracting a kind of a pretty serious flu. Australia is 6 months ahead, and they've already seen an early and quite severe spike in their flu infections. And so the storm clouds are brewing for a winter of very great problems. And I think
we'll see how it pans out. Let's move on, because we don't have much time now. Kate, the next two stories are sort of the same thing, really. Sunday Express and Sunday Mirror. Cost of living and people stealing essentials.
I know we're up against it on the time, and these are two very big issues, so I'll try and be as succinct as I can. The first is talking about our mental health crisis. We have a mental health crisis, and our support services are absolutely at the max. That, of course, affects children too. Now, the cost of living crisis is the next burden for a lot of young people to face, with 51% of them saying that money worries are making them angry and stressed at the moment. And there's a call in the paper here to be able to do more about that, and there's a House of Lords hearing tomorrow to talk about the cost of living impact on children, how it's affecting them. This is a really interesting double-page spread by The Express, because if you look at the other side, there's talk of The Nest, which is one of 60 centres in the UK that's helping to start to deal with the mental health crisis by more immediate, quicker preventative measures, by talking about opportunities on the high streets almost for people to be able to call into clinics. You don't have to book appointments, and the stigma is tried to be removed from those environments so people can find the support they need. And I think this is just a desperate time because mental health is so significant. The other story you mentioned is, again, it's a very delicate balancing act, but it talks about how we are seeing huge increase in the amount of what people are calling desperate theft. desperate theft is not when people are shoplifting alcohol or shaving equipment, etc. This is real cost of living crisis, taking the essentials. And it's a trial in Liverpool in supermarkets where the Tesco brand of supermarket, where security guards have been trained to be able to identify that type of theft and work better without dealing with the rest, and the police are involved in that too. And again, whilst this isn't completely the issue of business to sort out, the cost of living crisis affects us all and impacted by us all, and work needs to be done, particularly in government. I do think it's interesting that businesses are starting to step up here, as is Asda, who have put out something this week saying that they are going to offer £1 meals for children in their cafes all summer, because they realise that a lot of children are affected by school meals not being there as a provision through the holidays. So it's a set of sad stories, Kimberly, but all very relevant and probably needed much more time than we have.
Yeah, there's a sense that we all need a break from it all, don't we?
It's a lot to deal with, isn't it? It feels like 3 years now where we've been fighting the fight every single day, and I can understand the exhaustion levels because you're in that fight or flight mode, and it's difficult for many to get through mentally and physically.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much to both of you. Do enjoy your Sunday. Stay cool.
And you.
Marianne and Kate, thanks a lot. Bye. Still to come on Sky News Breakfast, we'll have more as UK emergency services brace themselves for record-breaking temperatures as an amber weather warning comes into force in England.